everyone, it's Miranda and Jesus.
Hey guys, what's good?
We're back for another interesting episode. So we wanted. Why did I talk like that? We wanted. Like I don't know.
We wanted to talk to you about a very interesting topic today.
Yeah, I got all weird.
It's all intellectual all of a sudden. You went
I know.
all PBS on us. I'm like, hey,
I
chill.
know. I was like, hello and welcome to Channel 5 News. Today, we're going to actually cover the topic, though, of Hurricane Katrina today and just some interesting facts that we found online that we've been talking about. So we
And
would
basically stuff that the news didn't cover.
Yeah. So we'd like to start out by specifically saying we found all this stuff on the internet. We tried to find multiple articles to make sure nothing had been debunked or anything so that we're not giving you falsified information. However, this is what we came up with in our searches. We found some pretty interesting shit.
And also Jesus got to experience New Orleans. So it was credible.
I haven't actually been ever.
Ooh. Mardi Gras, let's go.
Should we? I'm like, the only time I've ever experienced New Orleans, dude, is when I watched the originals.
You're so dumb, dude.
The Vampire Diaries spin-off, bro.
Hey, bro, I'm not even gonna lie, it was good. He just turns Rose around, just murders everyone.
Right. I liked Klaus, dude. I know everyone thinks Klaus is like horrible.
I don't like Klaus. I like his brother. What's his
Elijah?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I like him.
He was always so calm, cool, and collective.
Yeah.
You never mess with Elijah because he was the homie. He was down for everyone.
He was, dude. I'm down for him, though, you know. Anyway. So,
well, Klaus's sister, though.
No, Rebecca, dude. Smash or pass?
Definitely smash.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so.
Nah, you're so.
No, I didn't like the younger brother, though. I can't even remember his name. Cole? It was something like that. Anyways, I didn't like him. I never found it. He wasn't cute. He was just kind of like a waste of a character. But, anyways. So.
Hey, but you know they do cover a lot of like that. What was it like the New Orleans culture, like all the voodoo stuff and whatnot. Was it?
Yeah.
It's not voodoo. It's voodoo stuff and it's like witchcraft and it's like.
Yeah, they do like witchcraft and vampires, like all that stuff. We should actually do some looking up on that. But yeah, they covered a lot of all of that stuff, which was pretty cool. Who knows what of it was actually fact and fiction, but like I think a lot of it was culturally significant.
Hey, you know, how do I say, like, jokes and stories, even if they're made up, they still have a little bit of truth.
A little truth to them, or something. You know, they can't just come up with all that, kind of like we talked about last week. Like, some of it's got to be real, dude. Some of it's got to be real.
Exactly.
So, anyways, back to our topic of Hurricane Katrina. The reason we wanted to cover it is because Jesus got pasta at Cheddar's, and it triggered him into thinking about the hurricane. So then we were like, hey, now's the perfect time because, okay, there's never a perfect time to cover horrific topics, but there's a new hurricane coming into to LA, right? Right now, like as we speak. The
homie Ian's out there. It was out there vacationing. He's just like the one time I go on vacation and it's like this. And it's just like the picture of like the sky all gray.
Yeah, well, it's even raining here. They said on the news that we might get some like bad weather here, and it is already raining here today. And we're pretty far, you know.
That's crazy.
So, what is Hurricane Katrina? Let's talk about it. Well, first off, I was young. I think I was in It was in 2005, correct?
Yeah.
So I was in 5th grade.
No, you were in 6th grade.
No, exactly. I was in 5th because the year. So if it ends in a 5. Or like whatever. I was born in a weird year and I started school weird. So like if it's 2004, I started 4th grade. If it's 2005, I started 5th grade.
Okay.
I think it was September 2005, so I just started 5th grade. So that means you were in what, 3rd or 4th, I think.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th.
So yeah, we were like, I was young, and back then nothing really interested me, like besides playing with my friends on the playground. So like I remember it happening, but I don't think I understood like the devastation that was going on. I'll try. I wrote down.
Do you remember the commercials, Miranda, like on TV about hurricane, like all the like name brands, like showing how they were supporting Hurricane Katrina?
Yeah, like
that's all I remember.
Johnson's and I remember seeing all the Salvation Army commercials.
Was it Bud Light that they started taking instead of filling up their cans with beer, it was water?
No, I don't remember. Google that, dude.
Yeah,
That's really cool. But
I think it was one of those name brands. Like they did something crazy.
let me see. That's actually pretty cool. I don't remember much. I remember seeing like the Salvation Army commercials and like the Johnsons and Johnsons type of thing, and like that kind of stuff. And Dawn, I remember those. But what beer company helped with water during Katrina? Search. All right, my Wi-Fi's bad. My roommates are streaming. Yeah, so it's the company that does Budweiser. I don't even know how to say it, but I'm pretty sure that's the Budweiser. The can was set part of a massive donation of drinking water. Yeah, and for Bush. Oh wait, Bush. Yeah, isn't that
Yeah, but Bush like Bush, right?
Busch? Yeah, but don't they make Budweiser, or is that just like Bush Light or something? I don't know.
It's.
I don't think they
I
had
think.
enough money.
Yeah, I don't think they have enough money.
Miller Brewing Co. So like Budweiser's own. Yeah, it was Budweiser.
Budweiser. Okay, see now,
Yeah.
Budweiser. See.
So and then eventually Budweiser and Bud Light like someone bought each other out or something, didn't they? Anyway, that's not the point of it. But that's pretty cool. I do remember the commercials. I just I don't think when I was.
You know why I remember? Because the can was all white.
Was it really?
Yeah. Instead, because they couldn't have had the normal beer can.
I literally have no memory of it, which is weird. But I don't think like, being a fifth grader or a third grader, and I don't really think we understood what was going on. I just knew that like somewhere else something bad was happening and that there was like floods. That's it. Like I remember knowing there was floods, and I remember there was like people's dogs were
You
getting
remember
sent.
like all the mass influence of influx of random people from different states?
I do remember that, and then I also remember like my mom and other people's parents who like volunteered at the animal shelter and stuff. They were bringing in dogs from there that like had no place to go, and so like they were putting them into the foster care system, and like dogs were overrunning like the animal shelters even in New Mexico because there were so many dogs coming out because
Like
even people
save the dogs, fuck the people.
yeah right fuck the people. But like I think most of the people got transferred to like Houston or something, if I remember correctly. But there was not room for all these dogs because it wasn't only people like dogs who were found. It was dogs and cats whose owners, had to go to Houston or go to wherever, and they couldn't take their dogs with them or that kind of thing. So there was hundreds of homeless animals and people. It was crazy. But I do remember that. It's sad that that's what I remember from it, but I don't think people. I think we all kind of do that, especially young kids and stuff. We don't realize what's happening, and if it's not happening to us, then it's like it's there, but
it really don't matter because I don't even remember. I remember, like I said, the commercials, but I don't remember anything like when it hit or the after effects or anything like that until when it was 2006, like a year later. We were going to Disney World in Florida, and we drove there, and we got to go through New Orleans, and it was during nighttime. And the city was kind of lit up, but it was like almost like the city was like one street. It was like a one street city, but it was basically a bunch of streets were just blocked off with like trash or like a bunch of like traffic stuff. And it's because like when we got to the gas station, my dad got off, and
so you guys actually like stayed in town. You didn't.
Yeah.
Like okay.
and the guy came out like a Puerto Rican guy, something like a different. He wasn't Mexican. And he just talked to my dad, told him like what was up with the city, like what was going on. He just told him like basically if the street was blocked off, that means it was flooded. So don't even try.
Yeah.
He said if you're gonna stay in a hotel, he's like there's only 2 hotels.
Dang.
And then if he needed food, that he had to get everything at the gas station where he was at, because everything was closed by like 8 or 9, like super early. And it was only and when we got to the hotel, how do I say, the guy said that the hotel was basically, there was a bunch of gang members there. That's what that was. It was run by gang members, but the hotel was still running. He said if anyone came knocking on your door, not to answer.
That's scary.
Yeah, definitely. And it was at night. It was like 10, like 11, 12 at night. So it was imagine imagine this the dark city. It was quiet. Like just imagine like a dead city. Like no sound. I remember that so vividly because when you get out, you usually hear cars and stuff, but not even that. Like it was just wild.
It was just quiet.
And we only stayed there the night, and in the morning we took off. But still, I remember New Orleans when I got there. It was crazy. Or the next in the morning when we left, it was crazy because like if you look in the distance, you just saw a bunch of hotels, and then you saw like the water midway up. There was an amusement park. I remember like you saw the roller coaster, but that's the only thing you could see. All the rest of the amusement park was covered in water. It was wild. It was just crazy seeing the city, a destroyed city.
Yeah, that's like, and I don't think people, I really don't think people like even realize how bad it truly was. Like we saw videos, and when I was doing like some reading on it before, just to prep a little bit for this, just seeing the pictures of it, of like there was like an old woman with a walker, like walking through water that was like up to her hip, just trying to like find someone to help her, and people were just taking pictures, and I'm sure I don't want to say I'm sure they did, like hopefully they helped her after, but like there's horrific pictures.
Someone took sympathy for grandma.
Well, not like right, they do that. Well, they do that on Animal Planet, bro. They like watch a little baby deer, and they're like, yeah, its mom died. Now here comes a family of cheetahs to rip it shred by shred. Well, they're gonna leave it alive. They're just gonna rip off all its legs and then eat its stomach while it screams. Like, I'm not comparing it, but that's kind of how they treated it.
Yeah,
maybe I should compare it to that, because there's also pictures from like I don't even know if it was drones or just helicopters or something above, like taking pictures of people like waving flags, like with like help signs written on the ground.
SOS, bro. I saw that.
And then they're
There's
just
a bunch
taking
of
pictures
people with the roofs like SOS, and they're
and like help, like I'm still alive, and they're just like, look at all the people who are wanting help. Donate to Salvation Army.
Like, hey, don't those people look like ants? And it's like, yeah, they're just ants. No,
yeah, it's crazy. Well, so when I was reading, the reason I think Katrina was so big is because we don't have that many like natural disasters that have that much devastation, and I do remember it. I actually met a girl at Starbucks, and she lost her leg in Hurricane Katrina, and she had she had like a prosthetic leg, and I was there with my boss. I had Maya there. We were doing like this walk thing, and Maya kept bugging her, dude. Like Maya was like, "Ooh, what's that?" and like kept like pulling towards her, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she said, "It's okay. It's not that often that dogs see like a robotic leg, like she like made a joke." And I was like, "That's true." I just tried to make it like, haha, let's go.
That's awkward.
I was like, yeah, she's crazy, dude. Give a dog a bone, and then she
and she told me. Maya was like, if you fall down at any moment, I will steal your leg.
Yeah, she's like, give me the chance, dude. Give me the chance, say the word. But she lost her leg. She got trapped. Something fell on her, and she got trapped under something, and like it was trapped for too long, so she lost her leg. Anyway, so I think like it was so big, not only because like a ton of people died, but because they didn't just die because of the hurricane. They died because of the flood protection system failed us, right? So the government was saying that like there were some fatal flaws in the engineering for this flood protection. So like they were saying specifically the levees failed us. I think a lot of people were thinking like the levees flooded and then here we are, but that is not the case. They actually broke. So the government wanted to say, oh, well, it failed, blah, blah, blah. This is why all these people are dying. But it turns out that like they weren't even at capacity for how much water they were meant to withstand. They weren't even at the capacity that they were supposed to be able to withstand. So they were like, I don't want to say well below.
Something that fits into what you're saying is that I found was like basically the levees or whatever. It was made out of cheaper shit than what they were like. How do I say? They were announcing.
It was junk. Yeah. They're being penny pinchers. They just wanted to save money because they thought, oh, nothing this big will ever happen. Let's just put some cheap shit into it.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess that honestly, Miranda, that's in any business. Like they'll go to the cheapest shit. So, you think the government's gonna be any different? Like
exactly. Well, see, when they try to save money by doing some little penny pincher, cheap fucking setup that lives depend on. And that turned into a multi-billion-dollar investment for them after that, because now they have to repair this whole disaster that just saving a little money could have saved all, I don't want to say that they couldn't have broken and like this couldn't have happened, because it still could have happened, but had they done the work right and not saved money on material and how, I don't think it was just material either. I was reading on it and it said like the way they had things like dug into the ground and everything was just done like half-assed.
That's what a lot of these like government jobs, like if they're state funded, they'll usually just pay the inspector off. Like what? Like I'll put another one in perspective, like that one in Miami, the bridge that collapsed, the bridge that collapsed in Miami.
Yeah.
I remember not that long ago, like 2017, 16.
I'm gonna write that down so I can look it up.
It was because the inspectors were getting paid off, or the inspector that was going to check didn't know what he was doing, and it was poor manufacturing, and it collapsed on while the bridge was active. It collapsed on the freeway, like
that's insane, dude.
And that's the thing, is like that happens so often. Like, how do we know that didn't happen there?
Yeah, well, and I mean, there's I think it said the Army Corps, they did their own investigation, and they said it was due to like being cheaply built. And like when they say things like, oh, it wasn't, I can't remember what it said. It didn't say like mounted to the ground, but whatever the freaking words were that they used, like the way that it was like put in there, that was like half-assed done and intentionally. It wasn't just like they hired some bad workers type of thing. Like it was done like this to save money, and it wasn't meant to withstand a hurricane of this size or a flood of this size, so that it failed because of that. And how many it said, so there was a ton of different body.
Just so you guys can get a perspective, more or less, when the hurricane hit and the water started flooding, the water rose up to like 20 to 30 feet.
Yeah.
And that's for an average house. Your house is about 10, 12 feet at max. So just imagine
that's like a one-story house.
It's taller than a one-story house. It's taller than most trees. It's
yeah. Well, and then you think like because of that failure, at first when I was doing my research, the number of people who died during Hurricane Katrina, it said like 1,800 and something, but then it said in 2008 the numbers were updated to 1,392 people. 30 of those people still remain John Does. They're just a mystery. Nobody knows who they are. Like they didn't have any type of identification on them. It says the unclaimed bodies were laid to rest in 2008, 3 years after the storm. Authorities have recorded details about their DNA and where each person was found, in case people come looking for them at some point. But at this rate, like the government did, I don't know what they mean by laid to rest. Like I don't know. We could look that up and see like were they buried in a specific spot.
There's probably like how do I say, like the people that can't be identified, they're probably like in a special cemetery that here lies to the souls that like can't be like,
yeah. Yeah, we should look that up. Where were the unidentified victims?
Let me look it up, dude, not just like that.
You have the computer. Yeah, I'm just curious to like where were they buried, because that's the kind of thing that we were talking about on last week's episode, is like we're told this information and then we do nothing and know nothing about it. Like, oh, we know that there was 30 people who were unidentified.
They say that they buried the bodies, but in reality they were used for like military training.
It actually doesn't say. I mean, it's possible, and it actually doesn't say the unclaimed bodies were buried. It doesn't say cremated. It just says were laid to rest in 2008. So whatever laid to rest means to them, like laid to rest means that they could have been donated to science. It means they could have been put anywhere. Like we don't know. That's why I'm curious what happened to those bodies. Maybe Google what happened to the unclaimed bodies from Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, they were formerly buried in the Charity Hospital Cemetery in 2008.
Yeah. Okay. So see, now we have an answer where they're supposedly at.
Yeah, they were. That's like you said, they were laid to rest.
Yeah, laid to rest. So, but yeah, no, like all of it's crazy. And then, like I was saying, is the government, I guess, kept saying that, I don't know if it was the government. anyway, let's just say the people. We'll just say the people, whoever that is. We're saying that like the levees couldn't handle this much water, so that's why they failed. And then obviously that was proven to be a lie, because it was just cheap construction. So all these people die, and then the federal government failed to give these people the help that they needed, right? Which I feel like has been
it was such a mess. It was a week after, and no one came to help. There was no state. There was no government, no national security, no what are they called, the National
Guard.
Guard, yeah.
So the White House, so George Bush, he tries to turn this and be like, okay, well, because everyone's fighting for it, like, why isn't FEMA doing what they're supposed to be? Why isn't the White House doing something? Like, someone needs to do something, right? And so George Bush is over here saying, okay, well, it's the governor of Louisiana's fault that, like, she didn't do this and she didn't do that.
It's like, they said that we gotta send more bombs to Iraq. What do you mean?
Yeah, like, exactly. We need to give our tax dollars to something else, whatever. So they start blaming her. Her name was Kathleen Blanco or Blanco. I don't know. It says Blanco, but if she's white, I don't know how she would say it. But
it's Blanco.
So, right? It's something weird, dude. Well, so they start blaming her and saying, well, she didn't declare a state of emergency on time, and she didn't clearly state what they needed in terms of help. So like, it's not our fault that she's not getting it. However, it was like later proven that an entire day before the Mississippi governor did this, or even the White House called a state of emergency, an entire day before either of them, she already called in for a state of emergency, which was like before the hurricane even hit. She called for a state of emergency, try to get her people out of there, because they knew, like, I don't think
okay, so that's when that all that happened that I was reading over here, that over 75,000 people were left, like, how do I say?
In the Superdome and in the convention center. They sent them there because they didn't get them out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
there were, I mean, at that point, you're considered a refugee.
Yeah. So they're just like you see in movies, like everyone's like, okay, there's a earthquake, everyone's houses fell down. Let's just go to, Cardinal Stadium, whatever they're going to go to. They go somewhere. So they go to the Superdome.
It's like anywhere where you imagine there'd be like sanctuary, I guess, right?
Yeah. A big place where everyone can sleep on little cots or on the floor or something, but that way everyone's together to get help. Like, that's what they try to make it seem like, right? So they all get sent to like the Superdome and the convention center and all this stuff. There's tens and thousands of people, like you just said. The National Guard comes in. They ask FEMA to send them 700 buses to get people the hell out of there, right? And I think it was a day or 2 days later. I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 days later, they send in 100 buses, not 700, but 100. And then it took nearly a week for them to start like get everybody out. So they were all sitting in there for a whole week, not knowing if their families were dead, because there's no power. So hear me out. I think there was power in the Superdome for like a couple of days when they first got there, but then the power's nowhere. Everything's flooded, so they don't have power.
Imagine, dude, it's 2005. There's no no one has cell phones.
Yeah, you don't have smartphones.
The internet isn't. It's only if you have a computer.
You have dial-up internet. Yeah, on your big monitor. Like, there's not like today. Even today, though, if something like this happened, like, your cell phone service is going to be cut because all the towers, the cell phone towers and stuff are going to be destroyed in your area. So like, this could still happen, but you would have more of a chance of getting a hold of people and knowing if your family's alive, whatever. So, sorry, I was talking so fast because it pissed me off that George Bush was doing this, right? Because he's saying, hey, we tried to help you, and we're gonna, but like, you didn't do your job right. And then she's like, no, I fucking did. Like, I called for a state of emergency. And like I said, I was in 5th grade, so there's probably a lot more behind this that was on the news and stuff that I've missed. But so that happened. It took nearly a whole week for them to get these people out, right? Then when the blame placed on the governor is done, then they start saying, okay, they start stereotyping like the people of the South, like saying they're just too fucking lazy to evacuate properly. And so it's their fault that, like, when we put out the initial evacuation, people weren't like sprinting to get out of there.
The thing is, like, see that's where we hit, like, what you just said, that stereotypical thing. A lot of Southern people, country people, and even here too, like where I'm from.
They won't leave.
they won't leave because they're like, this is my house, this and that.
That's all they have.
And the thing is, like, where the hurricane hit in New Orleans, it hit in an area that was basically, it was considered swamplands. So it's a land that's literally above, like, it's not inhabitable unless you put in a lot of work. And that's what they did. They started making all these swamplands into like shitload of houses, cheap houses.
Yeah.
And that's where all those people that didn't want to leave. Yeah, all the poor people. Basically, we'll say the working class and the middle class. We'll say that.
Well, even less, like even less than middle class, like people who were in poverty, because let's say I don't know how much it is to live there, because I would say I have 3 roommates. I'm 29 years old. We all have great jobs. All of us make, let's say we all make at least over 55,000 a year. So we're not having the best jobs ever, but we don't have bad ones. Some of us make 80,000. It just depends. Kylie Jenner makes $45,000 like an hour or some crazy shit like that, and that's what a lot of us make in a year. So like that kind of stuff is crazy to me. But like, so if it was just me and Miles living together, let's say we made $110,000 in the state of Phoenix, or in the city of Phoenix, to live without roommates or anything, you have to make at least $100,000 to rent a home and not die. When it comes to like your electric bill and all that stuff. So what does poverty mean there? So what they tried to say, and a lot of people tried to say it was like a racist thing, is that the people who lived in poverty was mostly black people. And
it was both. It was both, dude. It was both.
Yeah.
They just said they were saying black people, but it was both white and black people.
It was, and like they said now that after Katrina, a lot of Hispanic people have moved there, and like now it's kind of like a mix of both. But that's what they tried to play it as, like this race thing. Who knows? I mean, part of it could have been. But no, all of it's just crazy. Like just thinking about it all happening. And like I do remember it. And my second grade teacher was actually from there. And I remember I'm still her Facebook friend. It's crazy. Her name, I better not say her name.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say her name.
I'm not gonna say her name.
People, you get those random people look her up like, oh shit.
Yeah, but she is super cool. I'm still friends with her on Facebook. She still remembers me, but she was like devastated because her family still lived there, and she lost someone in her family. She couldn't get a hold of her family. Like we had to have a substitute teacher for her class. Like she was out of school for a couple of weeks because she had no idea what was happening to like any of her family because there's no answers. And but back to the evacuation thing really quick. I wanted to drop a fact on that. When I was reading about it, because I said like, why weren't people evacuating? They said out of like there were specific numbers, but it was like out of the millions of people evacuating, or out of however many hundreds of thousands, that a huge percent of those people were from New Orleans, and that the traffic jams were so big and like you couldn't just fly out of there. There's a hurricane coming in. You know how many people were trying to buy an airline ticket out of there? And they said that like the roads were literally backed up and closed. There was no way to get out. So the communities that they're saying they didn't want to evacuate, they're lazy and like, doing all this stuff. They had no means of transportation to get out of there. They had no money to buy a plane ticket. They were literally stuck because they were set up for
failure in every way.
Yeah, they're just set up to fail. They had no means to get out of there. So that's also insane.
Another crazy thing that happened too when basically after the hurricane had just hit was a lot of the like the usual, right, the looting.
Yeah.
But then there was since there was no help, since it took it almost took 2 weeks for people to come help. Yeah. Basically, people were taking the law into their own hands. People started looting. People started fighting with each other. There was reports of killing, and there was even reports of like cops, shooting looters and stuff.
Yeah, and an article that I saw about looting, which I think this is an important quote to bring up, is because I wrote it down intentionally so I could remember to tell you, is that so the government and then people, after this all happened, the media said, all this terrible stuff was happening, all this looting, all these things were happening, but then they started to say that the media over exaggerated it there, and it was worse than they stated it to be. But like I don't believe that it was over exaggerated. Maybe a little bit, but like I don't think it was largely exaggerated like they think. But the reporter said, I think people are confusing looting with going into survival mode. because these people, think about it, they had no water, no electricity, no food, no diapers for their babies, no formula for their babies. What were they going to do? Just all sit there and die, like let their babies die?
Yeah.
So they had
Exactly.
they emptied
Exactly.
an entire Walmart. I know that they emptied like an entire Walmart. They took everything, like it was empty. They
And
had no
they even took
choice.
the glizzies, bro. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they took everything, and that's the thing is like they weren't. It wasn't like they looked at this as an opportunity, like fuck yeah, it flooded. Let's fucking steal shit. Woohoo, we've been waiting. Like that's how they tried to make it seem, as they were like, now's the perfect time for us to start that fucking gang down on Third Street. Like, no, that's not what happened. They had nothing. They had nothing. How were they going to survive? Their houses were flooded. They had no blankies. They had no running water. They had nothing. So what? You're
Oh,
just going to watch your
and
3 month
and
old
what we were
baby die?
talking about, like what you were saying, that a lot of the deaths were because of flooding. A lot of the deaths after the hurricane had hit were because it was hella humid.
Yep.
There was limited water supplies. Imagine you're flooded and there's no water for you to drink. That's crazy, right?
Yep.
And then plus apart from that, like since everyone was literally looting, there was no, and I just say in those times there was still gangs were readily, like they were still, how do I say, they were still running the city basically.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure
what were
it's
the
still
gangs doing? They overtook the hotels. They got
Yeah.
to safety too. They're like, fuck, let's
Yeah.
go.
It's like they did use that to their advantage, in a way. It's like, okay, well, there's all these gangs now. Now they're taking over and they have control. So like normal people like me and you, like what, we join a gang or we fucking die? Like, you rob
It was
Walmart or
do
you
or
fucking
die.
die. Yeah,
It was
literally.
literally do or die for those people, like you were saying. Like
Yeah.
they're confusing looting for survival mode.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like that quote was like the one thing when I was reading those articles, that was the only quote that I kept from any of the reporters, is that she was saying like they kept saying is, oh, they're looting, they're taking things from Walmart. These people are out of control. There's no law. Like, what do you mean there's no law? They can't even fucking they are swimming to Walmart, dude. Like, what do you mean?
Like you
they,
said,
they
this old lady was walking, probably looking for food or help.
yeah, she had a
It,
walker and she was under, like,
oh,
the water was like up to her hips, this older lady, and she had a walker, and so did the guy with her, maybe her husband or son or something. They had walkers and they were trying to get through the water that was like up to half of them. So a kid can't walk through that. A little kid would drown. So you have to carry your kid on your back, or you got to make some type of boat if you don't have one. You got to get on a tube and float somewhere. Like, you couldn't have just walked down to Walmart and looted it. Like, that's what they tried to make it seem. The media is like, people are looting, they're out of control. Like, what do you want them to do? Because we're not helping them. So how are they going to survive if they don't swim
and
down to
it was
Walmart
just
and take
sad
a snack?
because
Like,
we could, like, I mean, different hurricanes have hit, let's just say like Florida and California and shit,
yeah,
and they handle it so much better. But then this one hit, and it seemed like they didn't want to help.
yeah. Well, because it was their mistake, and was it an accident? Like, we don't know anything.
Well, I
Like,
mean, the hurricane,
the hurricane they
it's a
can't
natural
control, but
phenomenon. So,
exactly. But I mean, the
the rest
building,
of the, yeah.
the flood prevention systems, everything that they didn't put money into, and then when it happened, when they were like, we'll help you when we help you, homeboy. Like, really? Because let me tell you right now, I grew up in Los Alamos, right? And we had a big, huge fire when I was in like first or second grade, and it burned down. Michelle lost her house, her family lost their house. Like, it burned down a lot of people's houses, and they had. I was young, so I will have to double check with my parents, but we should actually do an episode on this. Is like, I remember we all got evacuated. Everyone left town. It was a mandatory evacuation. Um, People's houses were burning, but they had set up, like, we went to Albuquerque and we had to stay in Albuquerque for a few weeks. They had the National Guard was up in Los Alamos. They had the Salvation Army. They had FEMA. Everyone was doing stuff. So then to get clothes, we didn't have a chance to like pack up all our house and pack up all our clothes. Like, we saw the fire, it came over the mountain and it was coming down so fast that they were like, everyone pack your shit, get the heck out of here. Grab your immediate, like, what will you get if your house is burning down in 10 minutes? Grab it, get out. So we grabbed the dogs, grabbed us, the bird, we had to leave. And like, they gave us clothes. My brother was a baby, so he was still, like, I think using like diapers and stuff. So they gave us free diapers. They helped us right away, and we weren't even in that town. And like, then half the town burned down. They had all this stuff. They rebuilt houses, people's insurance. Like, I don't think, I'm sure some people had problems with their insurance and stuff, but like, they rebuilt everything super quick. Like, it wasn't 10 years of rebuilding houses. Like, people's houses went up. I remember just going back to school and Michelle's house got rebuilt. Like, it's just crazy to think that like that happened and people lost their houses to a fire. So it was completely gone. Like, and they just rebuilt everything, and like they did help us then. So this was completely a way bigger natural disaster and stuff, but it's like they set them up to fail, and then when it did fail, they didn't care to help them at all.
Yeah, well, it's because I mean, for me, it makes it look like they were just trying to cover up their mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll blame this person, and it won't be our problem.
Well, and then they had so everybody who was there, and when the looting started, like people started forming little militias, like little militias of their own, like you were saying, the gangs. And they honestly, so based on the research, which I don't know why they pull race into every single thing that you do. It's like literally a hurricane, and they're like, it was the white people, whatever. It was the black people. But the articles that I read said like a lot of the militias were mainly made up of like the rich white residents who's like still had all their houses and stuff set up, which makes sense.
Okay, so I want people to come in. What I read in one of these is that like the neighborhood of like was it the Nation of Islam, something like that?
Yeah.
It ties into what you said. They blew up some of the barriers like around their neighborhood, so it wouldn't get flooded. If that made sense. So
it's actually the leader of the Nation of Islam. Actually, I have his name. Yeah, so Louis. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I don't want to butcher it, but it starts with an F. He actually, among other public figures, but him in particular, said that the levees were dynamited in certain areas to divert water away from like these wealthy white neighborhoods. And then they're calling it a conspiracy theory. They said it reached the White House and the House of Representatives committee and all these people. And they were like, oh, that's an urban myth, whatever. But the reason they believed this, Jesus, is because in 1920-something, let me look, 1927, the Great Mississippi Flood, they set off 30 tons of dynamite at a specific levee in Louisiana to ease pressure on the flood that was happening in New Orleans. But then when they did that, it flooded St. Bernard Parish, taking it was with, okay, let me see, the 9th Ward. I know that. So that flooded, and it took like the brunt of all the flooding from Hurricane Betsy, and it killed and like harmed a ton of black and lower class people, because they intentionally bombed all these levees. And so I don't want to say they intentionally, I don't know if it was intentional, but they wanted to like ease up on the flooding somewhere else. So then they were just like, fuck it. Like that's when the disenfranchisement of like the black and lower class people started happening there, because then they were just like, okay, boom, flood them, kill them, like they're worthless. Is like that. So that's why they said when this flood happened, or when this hurricane happened, they said, what if they're doing that again? And there was, because I guess people were reporting sounds of like bombing and stuff like that. So then your brain goes, shit, they're doing it again. And yeah. I mean, it's possible. There's no proof of it, but that's why they started saying that.
See, the thing is, like, we see all these articles, right? We're reading all these articles, and it's like the media says one thing, and then we have all these quotes and all these like stories from random people that actually lived through it, saying that it is true. Like the gang thing, like I said, it was still while I went in 2006, and yeah. It was like a year later, and they were still running the hotels.
Yeah, well, and then like the local police formed their own little militias, kind of, you know what I mean? And they were like basically targeting people who they thought were coming in to loot their things, or just to loot. Like they were set up to like just take people out, and so people started getting murdered because they were just assuming, oh, they're gonna loot us. But like that's when you see how people just like do not stick together. Like no one, you know, like people are like, I would die for you.
We the people goes out right out the door.
Yeah,
right
exactly. We the people, and it goes to I'm the people, dude. Like I'm out for myself, and that's it. Maybe my homeboy, but then you fuck up once, dude, you're dead too. Like these people don't care. And
it's true, bro. It's like well, the homie goblin, like if he was my friend, but it was in the Pine Park podcast. He talked about like a situation in an airplane, he said, like, let's say, what if they offered you a parachute in an airplane, like as an extra, like, let's say $150. Let's say, like, you take it, right? And in that situation, that shit happens, like, you know, you're not getting that someone's just gonna fight you for it, you know?
Exactly. Someone will take your fucking parachute and let you die. Like, nobody cares.
Oh, that's what he said. He's like, I'm fucking fighting someone for that parachute, man. I'm surviving, man.
Exactly. When people go into survival mode, every little bit of empathy or sympathy or anything that you have for someone else,
it's
gone.
like your primal instinct kicks in.
Yeah, exactly. You're like a fucking wild animal, and you're like, either I kill this old woman and take her parachute, or I'm fucking exactly, or I'm dead. And then like the police. So there was a lot of, like you were saying earlier, like the gang stuff and shootings and looting and all that. There was a lot of like police incidents during the hurricane too. So the most serious case was on the I need to look up how to say it. It was on a bridge, Danziger Bridge. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up so I don't say it incorrectly. Yeah, Danziger Bridge. I'm pretty sure that's it. It's loading. My computer's like, yeah, Danziger, I don't know, whatever. It was on that bridge, and
whatever it's called.
Yeah, whatever that's called, and they killed 2 unarmed civilians on that bridge. They wounded a ton of other people. So there was a huge lawsuit against it. So there was this guy named Ronald Madison. He was one of the men that was actually killed. He was mentally disabled. They said he probably had, like, I'm trying to think, mind set. I don't know, the mind of a second grader, I guess. I'm not really sure how to word that.
Just had a slow brain. They'll say that.
Yeah. So in court, whoever testified, it was proven that he was shot with a shotgun, in the back with a shotgun, by the way, and then he was like stomped on while he was laying there dying. And then merely a week after that.
So what happened basically is that they shot this guy in the back, and the homies ran for their lives.
Exactly, and
they ran over him, like.
Yeah, but they like stomped on him and stuff, is what they said in this testimony. It says court testimony show police shot him in the back with a shotgun and stomped on him while he laid there dying. So on September 4th, nearly a week after the storm made landfall, I'm reading this directly from the article. The Madison's 2 younger brothers were crossing the Danziger Bridge on a nondescript stretch of highway when a squad of New Orleans police officers spilled out of the and commandeered rental. Jesus Christ, I can't read. They spilled out of a commandeered rental truck and unleashed a deadly storm of gunfire. Right? They made it like sound crazy, dramatic. Like I can picture it happening. So they shot him and he passed away. And they also killed a 17-year-old named James Brissett Jr. They also injured 4 other unarmed pedestrians because they were walking over the bridge, and they were all black. So I'm sure, racially profiled them and said, like, oh, they're definitely coming here to loot. So they killed them. And then one of the girls that they got shot even had to have her arm amputated due to the injuries. The autopsy, though, here's the crazy part, Jesus. The autopsy found that Ronald, the 40-year-old, sustained 7 gunshot wounds, 5 of them to his back alone. Isn't that crazy? And then one of the police was later convicted then of like stomping on his back before he died, which is what they were what I was talking about in that last article. Yeah. But that was, the conviction got overturned because of lack of physical evidence later.
See that? That's so crazy. It's crazy how the after effects of the hurricane just caused everyone like, just to go, just, how do I say, they
crazy, basically.
Mad Maxed it, dude. They Mad Maxed it crazy.
Mhm. That's exactly what happened. Like, it just went absolutely out of control. It spiraled out of control, dude.
And then, like, even with the government help, it was like, how long did it take to get everything in order? I feel like maybe like in 2008, 2009, that's when they were started talking about New Orleans again, like how people were starting to visit again. It was alive, and all this shit. But I don't know.
Well, listen to this shit, dude. Yeah. So this is a quote directly from the article. A federal jury convicted 5 officers in 2012 of charges related to civil rights violations and obstructing justice, because they tried to cover this up, right? So they tried to cover up this shooting. But due to prosecutorial misconduct, all of those convictions were overturned. Former Sergeant Gerard Dugu was sentenced to only 1 year of probation after admitting to his role of covering up this crime, dude.
So you just got a slap on the wrist saying,
yeah,
don't do that. That's bad.
Yeah. Isn't that literally crazy? Like, I don't even know how, and this is all happening during the hurricane, and these people, so the brother of the guy, Ronald Madison, he went to every single day of that trial. He saw it get overturned. He saw the one sergeant that I had just spoke with did not speak with him. The guy that I spoke about.
I am not related to this guy.
I do not know him. I never want to know him. So he was there when like his when he got it, because he got a mistrial, I believe, the first time, and then he had to go back, and like that just happened in 2016, dude, where he went back and got the 1 year of probation. So he stayed out of jail that whole time and just did whatever he wanted up until 2016, and then he had to go back, and then they were like, "All right, go back to work, bud. Just you don't do nothing bad for a year, or else."
Or else you go to jail with all those bad people.
And then we'll give you time served or something. Like, yeah, they don't do anything. So none of these police officers really had anything happen to them. And it would be interesting to actually watch that trial. I don't know, or like see the transcript of it. I don't know if it was ever filmed or anything, because I don't know. But wouldn't it be insane to have been there, dude?
Oh yeah, experience all that shit. Miranda, I have a question for you, just in all this situation. You know, I always say I like to put myself in anything, in any situation before I answer. But like, what would you do in this situation? Like, let's just say, let me set you up first.
Okay, set me up.
You have a house in like a moderate neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say I'll put you Miles and then your current dogs right now.
Yeah.
Basically, you did listen to what you're saying. You evacuated. But when you try to evacuate, you know, there's always that problem. Like everyone's trying to leave, and then eventually they just shut off the state, and then they're like, anyone, and then that happens to you, right? And then let's just say all that shit happens. The tornado hits, the flood hits, and then you don't have a house anymore. What do you do?
Dude, that's crazy.
Got like your 5 dogs and Miles. What do you do?
And my cats, dude. Like I have all that. Like honestly, I would have to. Like if our house was gone. And you can't drive your car.
Dogs. No, just kidding.
Right? No. You can't drive your car, dude. You have no house. You are just out there in a flood or whatever it is, right? You have nothing.
That's the only situation you get to tell Miles, like, see, Miles, your Jetta would have survived if you would have sold it. No,
right? If you would have sold that Jetta, dude, we would have survived. Like, I don't know. The Jetta would still be alive today had you sold it to that guy who didn't live here, but it's on you, dude. But no, it's really crazy to think about something like that happening, because like I've thought about it a lot before too. Like I used to be really into like Red Dawn and like watching those movies and like what would happen if, you know, North Korea came in and invaded us or something, and like you have to leave. Like you can't stay in your house because they're doing their own type of like martial law, like Nazi type of thing and taking over. So I have thought about it before, like what do you do? So if you don't have a car, you don't have a house, you maybe escape with some clothes, hopefully some of your guns or something, and your dogs. That's all you get. Like you have to take off on foot. So I'm not gonna leash all my dogs up and like try to take them all on the leash. Like I'm gonna die.
You're like, whoever follows me follows me. If you don't follow me, you're dead.
Exactly. Literally, like you let them out the door, including the cats, because I don't want to leave my cats locked up in an abandoned house or a flooded house. Like you have to let everyone free so that they have a chance to survive.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to do.
Let their natural instincts kick in.
Yeah, like you follow me, we survive. You can stay with us as long as you can. Maybe you'll even be a help in. You can hunt later. I don't know. But like for now, like you're all gonna be loose. If the 2 girls kill each other when we're leaving, that's on them. Like whoever survives survives. Like we're going.
That's too much stress, bro. You know
exactly.
What Jesus would do, bro? I'd be those stubborn people. I stay in the house. I just chill there. Like,
well, and that's the thing is like, but
all
but
the rubble just kill me. No, I just.
Well, in the scenario you gave me though, we have no house. So
oh yeah,
I don't
true. You guys, I stay out there, bro.
Because here's my thing: if I had my house still, like if I had the house I have now, like obviously I would stay in it. Like I would keep the dogs. Obviously, you got to board up the windows and everything. And this is our safe zone or our meeting place. But it's not gonna be a safe zone for long because people know you're in there, dude. Just like we were talking about, they're going to start looting. They're going to come kill you just to kill you and see what you have. So you
It's
either
like
have to
it's similar.
who do you
It would be
trust?
really real similar to like The Walking Dead.
Hmm?
Like
Do you have your
how
house? Like, yeah, we might be armed, but for how long? You know, we
yeah
don't keep. We have 4 people living here. How long do you think? Like we have mac and cheese and stuff, but we don't have a gas powered stove. Like our gas and water isn't going to be running. So how do we got to build a fire in the yard? But you go into the yard and then the people are like, look, they're alive. There's smoke. There's a fire. Let's go kill them. Like you really have to find
yeah
a
they
way. Like
have
how do you
supplies
survive?
and
Yeah, they
right
have
away.
supplies. Let's go kill them. So like, how do you survive? So if you don't have a house, first thing you got to do is hike up to the mountains somewhere. Like you gotta go find a place where it's more remote. You can't just I can't just be like, oh well, this was my house. I'll plop a tent up right here in the residential area and just chill. Like no, that's gonna set you up to die. So you have to leave somewhere. Like, but see, these people they couldn't leave because everything was covered in water. So what were they gonna do? Drown? Go out there
Drown.
and swim for 10 days? Like you can't do anything. You know what I mean? So
I
in the
feel
case of
like
it not being a flood, it might be
I like
easier.
say you remember like when you were in elementary school they were talking about how it wasn't just California, it was also Florida, Mississippi, and I think New Orleans, how they're those most of those states are above or under sea level.
Yep.
And eventually they get returned down back to normal, right? Like
Yeah, they're gonna go
that's
under.
they're gonna go under, and that's what happened in New Orleans. All the state that was above under sea level went back to sea level, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
All
that does make
the
sense.
oh god,
Yeah, and like it's so and one of the things that the government says now is that okay, the levees are fixed and they can withstand another Katrina incident. But that is not true. So like the army did their own little thing of research,
yeah,
and there's a lot to learn about like what kind of storms there are and like what they're called. So they called Katrina a 100-year storm. Um, which I think 100-year storms, there's like a 1% chance or something that they'll happen, like something crazy like that. Please don't quote me on those exact numbers, but it's something around there. Um, or they say, but like maybe even stronger, like a 400-year storm. Like, these levees are ready. But the Army does research and they said no, um, not a 100-year storm, nothing. Like this, if you think about it, Katrina only sideswiped New Orleans. That's it.
yeah.
It didn't go
Didn't
directly over it to destroy it. It sideswiped it, bro. So what happened then? But they think something more hardcore than that, like, is gonna be able to be okay? No. So
that was just like how do like you said side that was just like 25%. There's no 100% hitting. There's
yeah.
no way.
So like basically, in other words, like they are not set up to survive a direct hit from a big storm. Like they can't. And like I said, like the Army did their research. Like there's been research that shows like it doesn't. Whatever you did to these levees is not strong enough still. And that's after Washington had committed like $14 billion or something like that to improve that flood system. It can't. It's
It's
not
like
a
it was
habitable
14
space at
billion.
that
They
point.
had to say they put 14 billion into it because they took like 20 billion in back taxes, dude. No, just kidding.
They did
For
something right.
themselves. For
They
themselves,
did
dog.
something
No, just kidding.
crazy, dude. Like I don't know.
It's like
It,
Kanye West said, dude. He's like, and George Bush, he don't like black people.
right. I mean, he wasn't lying, was he? Like, I don't think he was lying,
Like
dude.
all those billions, instead of helping the state out, they just kept it. I know
They
it.
probably did.
I know it, bro. No,
I mean, they do a lot of shady shit, dude.
oh
A
yeah,
lot of
bro.
shady shit.
See, it's like, and then we tie it back to our last episode. Is this shit even real? No,
For real. Like I know that the hurricane was real and all that was real, but like the whatever the government is saying, I feel like nothing that they say is true. Like I don't know. It blows my mind. But
take it. We gotta say that too. Like, take everything we say with like a grain of salt. Like,
mhm.
look up your own stuff. Like, we're just looking up shit online and regurgitating it basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're just hearing things and reading things and telling you guys about what we heard and the stories we hear.
This
And
ain't, don't take. It's like this isn't no truth channel. So
yeah.
that means we don't want to get killed. So no.
Yeah, we don't want the government to kill us, so we're not saying this is the absolute truth. We're just saying this is what we found, and you guys do your own research and decide your opinion from there. But dude, so there was this other case
Yes.
during it all where this guy killed his girlfriend, dismembered her body, and cooked her and on his stove and ate parts of her before he jumped off the building and killed himself. And then he like left the suicide.
You think that shit started happening to him like in Until Dawn, that game, or
Well,
they eat people and they become like Wendigos?
well, it says, I mean, maybe, dude. It
He's
says that
already
he was
starting to
like,
transform. He was like, no, I'm just kidding.
right. Well, it says that he was like actually he was an Iraq war hero or some shit. He doesn't even deserve me to say his fucking name on the podcast, so I'm not going to.
Michelle.
But he was an Iraq war hero, so he probably had PTSD or some crazy thing. But like, isn't that some crazy shit? Like someone that you love and like hang out with and live with, you're just like, you know what? I'm feeling woozy, so you just were like, I'm gonna just, kill Miles and
Nah, bro.
make
Like he's just
some
looking like
freaking
I'm
movie.
looking at you. I'm like, damn, Rando would look good with some onions and tomatoes and some bell
Right, like
peppers like
some
cut
freaking
up.
sauteed onions and mushrooms, dude. Put her up in a freaking put her in the crock pot, make a freaking roast. Like that's what this dude did.
I'm about to make some menudo. No, I'm just kidding.
You're sick. Well, like no, that's what he did. He kills her, eats her, and then like jumps off, and he leaves a suicide note in his pocket that says like, "Yeah, I dismembered her, killed her, and now I want to kill myself."
Damn, I thought it would have been like I did it so the hurricane would leave. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like he honestly probably had like a mental break, and I don't know. We should look up the actual case to see the date of that. But everyone was saying something about it. I think it was during Hurricane Katrina. It might have been after or something, but it kept popping up with all of that. And I thought that was crazy because I was wondering like did people sorry, I felt a bug bite my armpit. Did people like start like doing cannibalistic shit out there because they were there for so long? But I feel like you would have to be out there for like quite some time.
Yeah, that's like months and months of
Yeah, that's like
like
months, not like
surviving.
a couple
But
weeks.
we don't know, dude. In
Yeah,
all
we don't
honesty,
like.
we what if like all that looting was honestly longer than a couple months? Like what if it legitimately lasted like a year or two?
Yeah, we don't know.
Because
And
they never announced anything on the TVs. Like the only thing you knew was like the commercials and all the fundraisers at school and shit.
yeah, exactly. That's what we saw. If we were adults during that time, we might have different information. So this is coming from when we're like, how old are you even in fifth grade? 10? 11?
Yeah, 8, 9, yeah, around
In
there.
fifth grade, I think you're like 11 because sixth grade, you're 12. And then when you go to middle school, you're like 13, 12, 13, seventh grade. But anyway, so like this is coming from when we were kids. So I'm sure some of these are probably just like recovered memories that are a little inaccurate. But like those are the things we remember. And then you have people who were there who went to the Superdome and they were stuck in there for a week or 2 weeks or however long it was.
2 weeks.
Yeah, there was. So at first, when they first got there, dude, like they had running water at least. The city's water supply was still going. They were good to go. But that was only for a couple days. After that, the water supply cut off. So here is where that whole thing that we were talking about earlier is where they, the government and everyone was saying, oh, the media is like, exaggerating all of what's happening. But they in the article specifically that I read, it had quotes, direct names, ages of people who were in there and they were telling their story. And then some of the quotes were coming from people in the National Guard who were in there. They said they had like metal barricades to like keep people inside and they were saying, "Oh, so cuz if you go out, you'll die." Like so you have to stay locked in here. So they had them barricaded in to where they couldn't leave, right? And then there was a report from someone in there who said like a child and an adult had been raped or sexually assaulted in some way that was horrific like that.
I got it. I got that shit right here. Watch.
Do you? Yeah. That there was blood all over the walls because people were busting the glass on the vending machine.
There was a course of parade chaos in the city. The two shelters, which was the Superdome and the Convention Center.
Oh, this is a different article than the one I have. So
it ties into what you're saying. And there was a lot of, there was rape and murder. There was a 7-year-old. There was a 12-year-old, and then about a dozen killings in both.
Yeah, and it says one lady gave a direct quote, and she was talking about. She said a man died in here because he jumped off a 50-foot jump, to his death, and he kept shouting that he had nothing left to live for, and then he just jumped off and splatted in front of everyone, dude. Like, there's kids seeing this, there's everyone in there were seeing this, and who knows? I mean, it could be fake, but like, there's direct quotes from people who were in there, and these are from like, this isn't off BuzzFeed or the New York Times or like some popular thing where people are posting and like, you know, like the New York Times and the Guardian and like these things that are run by people who would lie to us. These are like actual people who were in there are doing interviews. There's videos, there's other things of people saying like, no, this did happen. So the government saying, oh, it was exaggerated. There wasn't that many people killing each other. Like, dude, people go crazy. If you're going to tell them you got to get locked in here with 70,000 strangers, we don't know if you're going to survive or make it out. Also, go ahead and shit and pee on the floor because we don't have running water. So there's thousands and thousands of people in there. The water goes out, dude. So they have no running water. There's no electricity, right? It's hot as hell. So they're just basically cooking and the water goes out. So it said that they were forced to like pee and poop on the floor because at some point the toilets get too full. Like, you can't, it's not a porta potty where it's getting emptied and stuff and it can't flush. So it's just getting filled up. So you're having to pee and poop on the floor. There was a quote from a guy who said there's literally feces everywhere, including like on the walls and stuff. It's just everywhere. They said the smell in there was like just horrendous because people were having to go to the bathroom everywhere and that there was nothing else they could do. And they were telling like moms with babies, like they were trying to get, they didn't have enough diapers, you know, so they're the FEMA and stuff were trying to get diapers in. So they're trying to get diapers and formula into these people and food and water for the adults and just anything that you can get in there. And there wasn't enough for the amount of children. So they were having the moms were being asked basically to scrape the shit off of their babies' diapers and just reuse them and just keep scraping it off because there was no other way and there was no other, there was no other diapers, nothing, dude.
It's just like, it's infallible to think about because in the moment, in those moments, we don't know what any of them went through, right? It was just, it's what you see on TV or what you see on movies, what you can relate to.
Yeah. Well,
but it's just like, it just sounds like a horror story, bro.
It does. Well, and then the everything I kept seeing after all this was like reports today say that all of these statements were just myths and to blame the media for being dramatic, right? But then the mayor of Louisiana or New Orleans or whatever, not the mayor of Louisiana, that would be the governor. The mayor of New Orleans said on Oprah, and I quote, in that freaking Superdome for 5 days watching dead bodies, watching hooligans killing and raping people. That's what he said. He said that the people in there were, and then it says, quote, in that freaking Superdome for 5 days watching dead bodies, hooligans killing people and raping people.
Bodies piled up.
Yeah, like literally people were dying because they...
No, like, that's what they say. They say like they got a corner and then that's where they were piling up the bodies that the people kept on dying.
Well, because you have people, think about it. You have people who have diabetes. They didn't have insulin or anything to control that. You have people who have
high blood
God
pressure.
knows what, high blood pressure,
like that.
Or anything that it is that you need daily medication for, and you don't have it, boop, dead. You know what I mean? So
and it's such a painful death, bro. You just like imagine just what they went through, dude. This is like I said, infallible. Like, damn.
Yeah. So all of that kind of thing was happening while we were just going to 5th grade and playing with our friends at recess. Like, that's the reason that, like, we heard about it and we had fundraisers and like little things like bake sales out.
While George Bush was sending all these millions to fight a war.
Yeah. And not helping anyone who needed it.
Yeah, it's like what's going on right now, bro. It's exactly what's going on. Like all that shit that happened in Maui, and then President Biden's like, I'm gonna send all this money to Ukraine, bro, because they need this money. It's like, okay, I accept it, I guess. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
what can I do? What can we do, bro? Complain?
Yeah. Well, like what happens to our people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like exactly. We're protecting our people. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into all that political shit.
Yeah, we won't do that, but that shit's crazy just to think about all of it, and I'm sure there's plenty of other things to cover, but it's like it's an overwhelming thing, dude. That's for sure.
Yeehaw, brother.